All right. Hey, we're going to be interviewing tonight. We're going to be talking with Chris Chaddick. Chris is the head football coach at Indian Springs High School right here in Southern California, San Bernardino, California. And as soon as we get back from the intro here, we're going to be talking about his first year as a head coach, ups and downs. He tweeted out a great thing the other day, and I'd kind of been wanting to talk to him anyway. He tweeted out these 10 things he learned from the first year of being a head coach. And I thought, man, that's awesome. Let's get him on the show. So as soon as we get back, Chris Chaddick from Indian Springs High School.
You are listening to the Coach's Locker Podcast with Chris Ford, a place for all coaches to call home. The Coach's Locker Podcast is a part of the Football Coaching Podcast Network. Please visit footballcoachingpodcast.com to hear and see our entire lineup of top football coaches coming to you every single podcast with valuable information to help you and your program. The Coach's Locker Podcast with Chris Ford exists to help prepare coaches to be hired for the job of their dreams and to provide coaches with dynamite resources to become even more successful in their field. You can reach me on Twitter at Coach4, that's at COACHFORE, and my podcast home is at 8laces.org/podcast. That's 8laces, EIGHTLACES.org/podcast. Welcome to the Coach's Locker Podcast with Chris Ford. Now, let's get after it. Hands up, forget about the past, 'cause you and I's everything I ever asked for. Top down around the West Coast.
Coach Chaddick, hey, welcome. Thanks for spending some time with me tonight. We appreciate you coming on in the midst of a busy Christmas week. You there, Coach?
Hey, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm there. I'm here. Sorry about that.
Perfect.
I was just looking at my son. My son was just asking about mom. So we're multitasking. We're taking care of a Costco trip and driving back from the Costco trip in the midst of this interview. So it's pretty cool, pretty interesting times.
Dude, you're crazy to go to Costco on December 23rd, Coach.
You got to do what you got to do when you're hosting Christmas.
Yeah, you do. Now, how old's your boy now?
My boy is 21 months, about to be a big 2 in March 15th.
All right, man. That's a busy time. The terrible 2's coming up.
Oh, yeah. That's been a fun ride. I've loved every second of it.
Outstanding. Coach, you just wrapped up your first year as the head football coach here. I introduced you earlier, Indian Springs High School here in Southern California. Now, let's go before that, though, just for the audience to get to know you a little bit here, Coach. Take us along your coaching journey, because I believe you're an assistant coach for, 14, 16 years before becoming a head football coach?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Many stops along the Inland Empire, a little bit in Wichita Falls, Texas when I was in the Air Force. Had multiple stops throughout many high schools throughout the Inland Empire, some being Summit High School, Colton High School, where I coached for the legendary Harold Strauss, rest in paradise. He gave me my first varsity shot.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for that. Great man. Coached with Ron Geringer at San Gorgonio High School, where we won a CIF championship in 2016. So it was great to be a part of that. Then I took the leap to the junior college level, just like you. I remember that's probably the first place we met.
Yeah.
Face to face. We were on the field. You were the special teams coordinator. I coached D-line and did some run game coordinating. So it was a lot of fun. And then from there, I went to Carter High School, and from Carter High School, I was blessed enough to land the job here, albeit with crazy circumstances. I got the job 6 weeks before the school year started, and not the school year, before my game started, July 10th.
Yeah.
And first game was August 21st.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty wild ride.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So, Coach, when did you start coaching? Like, what got you into coaching?
Oh, man, several things got me into coaching. First and foremost, I would say my dad, because he was my first coach. He's kind of like you. Like, I mean, I see how you help out your son in all the multiple sports, and I'm hoping to do that with my own son as well. My dad was my first coach, my first T-ball coach. And, I had a positive experience him being my first coach for 2 years. I remember I was really, really, really sad when he was no longer my coach when I was 10, and I had to be coached by someone else. And I actually had a couple great coaches. I had many great coaches, and outside of my father, I would say that my coaches were perhaps my biggest influence in life.
Yeah.
And as a result, I knew early on, probably in high school, that coaching was something I wanted to do because I had the mind for it, the studious mind, and the work ethic that it takes, and just the love for people. I think that's the number one thing. If you don't love people and you don't love what you're doing, it's going to feel like a grind. But if you love what you're doing, you enjoy it, you know that it's going to make a lasting impact. And you have those kids that come back. Like I've coached long enough to where I've had kids come back. Even this year, I had a young man on my coaching staff that came back to coach with me, and that in itself is the reward you need. So,
yeah,
awesome. I'll continue coaching. Probably, I'll be like Joe Pa. I'll coach till I die. It's just something that's in me. I love it. But yeah, probably first influence my father. Second influence, all the many coaches that I had throughout my life, and just relationships I built on and off the field in various sports just kind of led me to it.
Yeah, you sound like most of us out there. The relationships led us into giving back and coaching this. And I know, when I started out as an assistant coach back in the 90s, I never really had a plan. Hey, a grand design to be a head coach one day. I don't think you ever really had that grand design either, right? When you started out?
No, not at all. I had no desire to do that at all. Actually, for the first 5-6 years, I was just happy just coaching, collecting a sweater, collecting some nice clothes, and making an impact on some kids. And then it wasn't until I kind of got solid in my craft. I mean, it's just like anything. Like when you start off, you make your mistakes. But I mean, it's like practice. You tell your players, hey, make your mistakes in practice. My first 3-4 years, man, I made all kinds of mistakes. And I look back at that as my kind of paid internships, I guess, in the coaching field. And then once I started getting more levels of responsibility, because I started out just like everybody, I was a freshman, special teams, and defensive coordinator. That was my first job I ever had. And, you just kind of keep building. And when I got my first real level of responsibility, when I was actually a head coach for the lower levels, that's kind of when the idea of maybe I can do this started popping up. And that's when I started really looking and seeking out mentors, going to all the coaching clinics, reading all the books I could read, learning about different programs, how they become successful, learning different things from different coaches. And right around, I say, year 4, when I actually got my first JV head coaching job, was when I was like, okay, you know what? I think I got this bug. I think this is going to go somewhere, and we'll just kind of see what happens. And here I am today.
Yeah, Coach, I think, your journey resembles a lot of different guys I referred to earlier myself, where you just kind of get into it. You don't really start thinking about, necessarily making moves or, I see nowadays, Coach, there's some guys who coach 2 or 3 years and they think, oh, I'm going to be a head coach, and to me, that's just kind of surprising these days. I mean, I fell into being a head coach my 4th year of coaching. I was 5th year of coaching. I was 27 years old at the time, but it's not something I ever really planned and even necessarily thought of being a head coach that early in my career. What do you think finally made you say, yep, I'm going to apply to be a head varsity coach? Like, was it one thing that happened or one of those mentors along the way who told you, yep, you should do this? Like, what made you finally make that jump, make that leap to apply for a head coaching job?
It was a series of things. First and foremost, I learned under some of the greatest coaches you could possibly learn under. When you have the privilege of having the tutelage that I had, I mean, naturally you're going to pick up stuff and you're going to see how they did what they did. And then really what it was is when I started gaining more responsibility through each coach, and I was encouraged by each coach, Coach Geringer being the first. Then I had Villalobos over at Summit that really helped me out, and Coach Strauss. I mean, he was one of the first people to ever call me when I did get this head coaching gig. And so all those mentors, and then what actually happened is I actually got reached out to apply for this job. It was something I was thinking about doing, but I was thinking maybe another year or two down the line. But then when the opportunity arose to actually interview for it, and I'm sure we'll get into that, I actually initially interviewed for this job and didn't get it through a series of circumstances. God works in mysterious ways. I ended up being the head man. But it was just kind of a process of things. Mentors that trust me to step up my level of responsibility. Learning enough to believe in myself. I think that's a key thing. I'm really glad that I took the long road. Some people are natural. Like, I'm not a Sean McVay. I'm not going to be the guy that says, oh yeah, like I was born a coach and I'm the man. Took quite a bit of work, and took quite a bit of learning and observing to figure out what I was going to take from all the coaches that I worked under, yet figure out a way to make those things my own.
That's awesome.
And learn to stand on my own 2 feet.
Love how you put that. Yeah, take those on your own. That's awesome. That's a great way. Yeah, you certainly have been involved in some good programs here, in Southern California, like you said, when San G won that CIF championship in 2016. I know that was a very, very good football team. Couple of those guys in the NFL now, right?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. So it's pretty cool to see when you get that. And, it's so funny. That is one of the wins, of course, I remember, but I remember losses more than one, including, one to you, when you were the Oak Hill special teams coordinator, and we lost as a result of special teams. So here's my plug to Coach 4. If you want to win on a special teams, go to Coach 4, go to his 8laces.org and order his special teams unit, because I've been a victim, and now that I've been a victim, I'm a believer. And I believe in his special teams, and I will use some of his special teams alignments this coming year. So
that's funny, Coach.
Yeah,
that was a great game. 2014, you guys were the number one team in the county. And we basically upset you.
That was our only loss. Outside of when we went to semifinals and lost to Riverside Poly.
Yeah, in fact,
that was it.
Coach, the picture I have on the front of my kick return manual and punt return manual is from that game. I think like 3 minutes left, we returned a punt. I don't know, maybe 60 yards or so. Or was it a touchdown?
It was a touchdown.
It was a touchdown.
Well, you actually almost returned two. One got called back because of a clip.
Yeah.
But you ended up getting us. It was on a punt. It wasn't on a kick return. It was on a punt return.
A punt return.
See what I mean? Like, you remember the losses more than you remember the win. I don't know why, but especially the stinging ones where you're like, why'd that happen?
Yeah, I think we had a punt return with like 3 minutes left. It's one we designed for that week off of something we saw against you guys. And my guy came off. We led the state that year in punt return average per return. He was outstanding. And he came off the field, and I said, "Man, like what happened? You know, how'd that happen?" And he goes, "Coach, just like you drew it up." You know, so that was outstanding. One of the more memorable ones. But Coach, you got us at the JC in 17, you guys beat us. So we're 1-1.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
1-1.
sir. Yes, sir.
So,
yes, sir.
Coach, yeah, talk about that, man, because I know, last spring you applied for that head football coach job at Indian Springs. You're a long time San Bernardino guy, born and raised down there. And I know
Yes,
you were very disappointed about not getting that head football coach job. They really wanted an on-campus person. They hired an on-campus guy. You and I talked quite a bit, quite a few times. You had 3 different job offers. One of those was to stay right on campus as a coordinator, and then 2 other schools you could have gone to as a coordinator. But you chose to stay. You chose to stay at a school that had just passed you up as a head coach. And I don't think a lot of guys out there would do that. What made you stay at that school that had just passed you up as a head coach?
2 things. First thing was the facilities are tremendous. Like, I hope that one day you get to see a game down here. We have a brand new stadium, and we have some of the finest facilities that one could imagine playing at. It's a relatively new school in San Bernardino. We're brand spanking new. Only 6 years old. So the facilities are magnificent. Just great. It's a sleeping giant. It's somewhere that you can build something positive. So I was enamored with the facilities. There's great schools in San Bernardino, great people, great coaches. I mean, that I respect the heck out of. But as far as facilities, I think we are very spoiled here. And the second thing, which I should have listed as number 1, it's the most important thing, my athletic director, John Chamberlain.
Yeah.
For a first-year head coach, I could not ask for a better guy. He's the one that initially asked me to interview for the job. And the man has been nothing but supportive and honest and forthright. And, I mean, he's every coach's dream. And he could cook a tri-tip like you wouldn't believe.
That helps,
I mean, just doing stuff like inviting, right before football season, he invited the entire coaching staff and all the wives over to his house to mingle with his wife. And, we had tri-tip and watched football in his backyard. Like, I don't know many athletic directors that would do that. And just even now, how hard he works, and like whenever something's needed, cool. And he's a guy that's like really into watching film. I don't know other athletic directors that watch film. Like, he'll watch film and then, he'll be like, oh yeah, I watched the film. I'm down to talk about it if you ever want to. And here and there, I'll be like, hey, so what'd you see? It's really cool to have that relationship. And then the fact that he's a family man and understands that we have family obligations, that's huge too. And I'm glad that I have an AD that's so supportive and won't be outworked by anybody. Perhaps the best AD. I know he's the best AD in the inland region. I mean, that I know personally. I've had some great ADs that I've worked for, but that man is bar none. He's the reason I stayed.
That's awesome.
Because
that's cool.
I had a couple other places, and he reached out to me. He said, yeah, he told me. I remember him reaching out to me. He says, yeah, I know this hurts, and yeah, I know it sucks, but you know what? Like, your time is coming. He told me. He said, your time is coming. He said, you just got to believe. And he says, I would love to have you here. I feel like you're going to be a guy that will help us out here. And because he did that, and because he gave me the initial shot with the interview, I was like, you know what? It's close to home. The facilities are beautiful, and I just think it would be a great opportunity. Why not? Let's just see what we can do.
That's awesome. I just think that takes a lot of humility, Coach, and I commend you on that. Like you said, all things kind of happen for a reason. So you don't get the head job, even though you interviewed for it. They hire another guy. He starts work there, but then something falls through with the on-campus teaching job for him. And he decides in the summer in the middle of summer, he decided, or what, middle of July, Coach?
Middle of July, like end of June, middle of July.
Yeah. I was actually on vacation, and I got a notification that from somebody, hey, Indian Springs job is open. You know, he left, and I was kind of blown away. So then you're the first guy I thought of. You know, I'm like, dang. And I think I might have texted you, hey, I just heard this rumor, this job's open, and you're like, you know, I can't remember exactly what you said, but so then. Does AD approach you about it, or what happened then? I can't remember how exactly it came to be, Coach.
The AD actually did approach me about it, and he said, remember I told you to be patient, remember things happen for a reason? And I said, yes. He's like, well, you know, I believe in you. You've been faithful in this whole time. And, you know, like he even said what you just said. He said, you didn't have to come back, and he did. And I see how hard you've been working. I see what you've been doing in the amount of time when said coach started being absent more. I feel like you've earned your shot. So what do you say? And I said, yes, sir. I'm happy to to do such things.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And so, Coach, I know one of the things you said here, as far as you know, the 10 things you learned, I kind of want to go through that list here. You tweeted out 10 things you learned about, you know, being a head coach, and in your first year. And as I read through that, I kind of laughed and chuckled and reminisced because, like I said, it's sometimes it feels like a lifetime ago, and then sometimes it feels like, you know, just yesterday I was in that spot of wrapping up my first year as a head coach. But what were some of those? Shoot, I can't find a screenshot now of it. Gosh dang it. Sorry, folks. Let me find it here. You said number 10, you said, I love football. Did your love for football grow during the year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it grows year by year, but this one season, through all the ups, through all the downs, through all I learned, this made me realize just how much I love this game. You love it even more. And if you don't love it even more after becoming a head coach, after going through your first year, you might not be built for this.
Oh,
God's honest
good
truth.
Good point.
I went through some things that coaches don't go through in a lifetime in my first year. Having a player get shot.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Having to deal with stepping in the way I stepped in, just trying to get the culture change and just trying to, even getting a job on campus 2 days before the school year started, just all this stuff. It was just a whirlwind. And, just meeting the kids, getting used to the campus, getting used to the teachers, getting used to the players, getting used to the atmosphere, getting used to the administration, getting used to, people's, peccadillos, the things I missed out on during a long camp, had I had one, that I'm getting to experience now. We start weightlifting in earnest, January 15th, our off-season program starts. All those things that I missed out on, having to learn, but experiencing everything just so quickly. Was it stressful at times? Yes. But did I love every second? Yes. And do I love it even more now? Yes. It's made me appreciate and love this game. And, when you have kids that walk up to you and say, hey, thank you for giving me a shot. I appreciate this. Like, thank you for making me love football again. Just hearing stuff like that, that's huge for the kids that stuck it out. During the turmoil, I commend them. I applaud them. For the parents that believed in me and stuck it out and, didn't transfer their kids when there was word that could have happened, that believed in me, that continued to believe in the process, that makes me love this thing even more.
Coach, you just talked about, one of those one of those 10 things you learn, you had a kid get shot this year. I mean, unbelievable. San Bernardino, for those who don't know, here in Southern California, it's a dangerous area. I mean, there's no getting around that. And you had one of your 10 things here. Number 2, you wrote, expect the unexpected. I'm sure that was one of those unexpected. Talk us through that a little bit.
That is one of the unexpected. Second week of the year, we had a player that just happened to be at the wrong spot at the wrong time, getting tea at a liquor store in a part of town, and just a little scuffle happens, and next thing you know, the kid got shot in the jaw, got shot in the stomach, got shot in the leg, and one of the shots was 7 centimeters away from his carotid artery. So the young man is blessed and highly favored. He did survive it. He's going through all his therapies, and we do keep in touch. And I am thankful to God that he did not pass away, because I've experienced that as an assistant, where I've had a guy get shot and pass away. That's one of the reasons why I coach here where I do in San Bernardino, because there's a level of responsibility, a level of need. These young men need to be in a place where they can feel at home, because often home is hard. Often the environment around them is difficult. Often the people they have to deal with in the day-to-day and the way they navigate throughout the day. These guys are my heroes. The way that they get through their day-to-day and just come and show up. I feel like, and this is my hometown. Like I said, Dino born, Dino bred. I love the Dino till I'm dead. That's something I always say to my kids. I feel like because football gave me a lot, gave me something to search for, gave me hey, like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go to school there, and this is what I'm going to do. Because football gave me a sense of purpose and gave me a way to kind of get into a better place in my life. I want the kids to learn that they can use football as a means to an end, and the skills that they can develop is not just good for the field, but good for life. It'll teach them to be great fathers, great husbands, great brothers and sisters, great working as a team, great thinkers, great entrepreneurs. I hate when football gets such a bad rap. Like, you have don't get me started on all those people that want to ban football because of crazy concussion studies that are slanted because of propaganda and the way the money's coming in. Never mind. But they don't look at the overwhelming majority of things that football creates, including all those skills, the bond, the brotherhood. So I feel like I owe it to these kids to be a light to them, so that they can learn and they can see, hey, this is a great game. This is what Coach Chaddick got from this game. This is what this game gave him. So let me try to get after that too.
Coach, how's that young man doing now? You said he's kind of still coming together.
Yeah, he's coming together. He's doing a lot better. He's walking around, moving around, doing a lot of stuff. Well, he's getting rehab for his knee and his hip. Just got the wires removed from his jaw, so he's starting to be able to eat again, and hopefully he'll be back at school again here soon.
Coach, how did that affect your team?
Well, it affected the team in a lot of ways. First things first, to know that you had a guy that was in there with you, it's a little bit of a shock at first, but then it became kind of a rallying cry, kind of something to play for. And then when the players got to see the updates on him, like, I would visit him in the hospital weekly. We'd go with our team pastor and our athletic director, and we'd see the kid and we'd visit the young man. And then, when he would write messages on his little whiteboard because, he wasn't able to talk. The kids got stoked for that stuff. So as they saw him working, they wanted to continue to work too. It kind of galvanized us together, and I'm really glad about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean it's awesome that it galvanized the guys and you're able to work through it. Obviously, not good situation for that young man. We wish him the best. What grade is he in?
He will be a sophomore.
Okay. And is he talking about coming back to play ball?
That is the hope. Yes, sir.
Awesome. Coach, you said another thing here. You said you can't do it all yourself. Talk to me a little bit about that. What did you learn about assistants?
I learned that that's what I tried to do initially early on.
Yeah.
Because I came on so late. I try to handle a bunch of things and not give the coaches too much responsibility, because I was like, man, I got a short time to do this. I just got to do this myself. Oh man, that was the biggest mistake. Were there a lot of things I continued to do myself? Yes. Did that burn me out? Yes.
Yeah.
Did that cause some issues for me? Yes. But I'll tell you what, I learned right away who was loyal, who would step up to the plate, who would not do such things. And it really helped me evaluate my next few hires that I'm making here. I've got a couple new guys that are really awesome guys that I know are going to step up to the plate and fill some voids that were not filled before. I've even got my whole year plan from January all the way to kickoff as a result of 3 of the new hires plus a couple of the holdovers.
Oh,
we
nice.
Sat in our football offices and got it all done. And it was pretty dang cool to have that and to know, yes, we're going to this clinic here as a staff. Oh, I mean, that's another thing. My AD, he paid for the whole that mega glacier pass. I forget what it is. The one where you can go to all the ones throughout the United States.
Yeah.
He paid for that because he thought that was a need. And I thought, that's awesome. That's another great thing. So, I mean, just not having to have myself and an AD do every single bit of paperwork and legwork and whatever, that'll burn you out.
Oh yeah.
One of the things I sacrificed this year, and I'll never do it again, I made that clear to my coaches, is I sacrificed a family trip up to Pismo Beach to watch film because I didn't feel like there was anyone else that could handle it, because nobody showed me, like outside of maybe 1 or 2 coaches, that they were consistent about watching the film. And now I've surrounded myself with some guys that are workhorses and want to delegate the work and want to split it evenly. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
I'll
a
never,
big difference.
Yeah, I mean, when you have people that are willing to work and willing to help you delegate, you can do the family things. You can do the things you want to do. Like, for instance, we have a wrestling match against A.B. Miller. Coach Amosa, he's doing a great job over there. He's actually the head wrestling coach as well. We got a bet on our wrestling match. Basically, like January 15th, whoever wins that is going to win the league for wrestling. So first day of weightlifting is on the day of that match. I'm going to go in. I'm going to pop my head in because it's a home match. But I've got 2 excellent assistants from some great programs previously that are just going to lead the way. And I've got an amazing strength and conditioning coach that I could just trust to do the job. It's going to be such a relief just to go in there, pump the guys up, be like, hey, let's get after it. Once you're done weightlifting, come watch this wrestling match. Like, that would have never happened last year, so just delegating the work just takes so much stress off of me, knowing that I can go home like at a normal time. That's pretty beautiful.
Yeah, that's an awesome thing. I mean, I know that I had a great group of assistants for for a while, and being able to, walk away and be able to trust any of them that are on board it's a difference. It's a difference in night and day when you have guys there. I was at a school for 3 years where I had just a group of like 7 or 8 awesome dudes, and then I left. I went to a new school. I inherited one coach who was like 20 years old, did not know how to be an assistant at all, and I actually called 2 of those buddies from my last school. I'm like, hey, do you think you can come over here? And they did. They came with me pretty late in the game and drove about an hour each way, and it just made all the difference to get our new culture, established at that school. So makes a big difference. And I know, Coach, heading into your second year, with all this time, will be a lot easier for you building a staff-wise. And then it gets even better in your third year, Coach. So I know you have that to look forward to. This one made me really chuckle because, now I'm an assistant principal of athletics, and then I spent time as 6 years as an athletic director. And one of my goals as an athletic administrator has always been to cut the red tape for my coaches. So my coaches, my coaches, I try for them. Like, for instance, right now, my district I work in, they require our head coaches to fill out all their own facility request forms. And I just think that, they got so much going on. I do that up in my office. I personally, myself, as an administrator, I'm the one filling out their facility request forms now because I just think it's one thing that they, I don't want them worrying about, so they just send me their practice calendar and I fill out all the forms, but, there's one of the things you said here, number 5, there's a lot of red tape. So
there is.
Not something you really understood as an assistant, is it?
No. For instance, we used to have a booster club, and that booster club is no longer because of some irresponsibilities from years prior. So we have to do everything through ASB. So it's not like I can just be like, hey, booster club, I need funds for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Having to have a club meeting to put together minutes, to request things and put it on paper, to turn it in to the ASB, who then votes on it and gets our things a week to 2 weeks later. I mean, even, having to do stuff like that to get trophies for my banquet, all that stuff. You're like, wow, really, this is crazy. And not knowing, I learned a lot. Remember, expecting the unexpected. I learned a lot about meetings, but everywhere I was, we had a booster club. Every single school I was at, we had a booster club. So I had no idea how to deal with the animal that is ASB. My athletic director walked me through the ropes, showed me the way, and it took a few months, but I figured it out. I'm used to just being able to say, okay, this is what I need. This is how I'm going to get it. Let's present this. Nice PowerPoint. Show why we need it, and it's usually granted. But when you don't have that luxury, you're like, oh wow, so this is what this is like, and then even scheduling a fundraiser, you have to have a target beginning date and a target end date, and you have to put in the paperwork weeks before so that it can get approved. Just all that stuff. You're like, wow. I have learned a lot about red tape and probably how a lot of the state of California works, just in my little microcosm of being a head coach. That's pretty interesting stuff. And just like anything, I'll get better at it. Like, I learned how to figure out, how to cut the fat out of some of these meetings and figure out, the exact linear way and the procedure. And I'll get better at it. Just like my players get better through practice. I'm going to get better through practice. Yeah, I really believe that.
Yeah, you will. You'll get used to it. You'll stop shaking your head. You'll just move forward. I was talking to a guy recently who does construction. He's got a bunch of school government contracts, and he was telling me, he's like, Chris, man, I make 3 times as much when I do, government contracts than I do when I do, pouring stairs at a school. I'll make 3 times as much as if I pour stairs at an apartment complex, concrete stairs.
Right.
And I'm just like, holy smokes, so yeah, and he says, with it comes a lot more red tape, but I charge him for it. So, right. Yeah, no, there definitely is a lot of it in our school systems here. Unfortunately, some of it good, some of it bad. Yeah, we got into number 7. You said if your AD sucks, quit. Mine's dope. That's awesome. That's great to hear. I know I've met John, I think one time. I've talked to him a lot online. In fact, he reached out to me when he was first, I really appreciate it because he has a great reputation as an AD, but he reached out to me for, hey, I need to sharpen up my interview questions and, can you send me some interview questions and stuff? So he's one of those guys who's always growing, and always wanting to grow. And I met him down at California Athletic Directors Conference last April. We had a good talk down there. So you do have a good AD, and I know that makes tracking all these job
makes
changes
a world of difference.
Makes a world of difference. Absolutely. Tracking all these job changes in SoCal the last 5 years, we've got about a 20% change over here in Southern California. And I always put on there kind of why they moved on, where they fired, resigned, retired, unknown. And I usually try to reach out to guys. And, a lot of times it's my administration sucks. My athletic director is crazy. And, that's why I resigned. Or they'll tell me, just keep it unknown, but off the record, it's because my AD's crazy. So, and I feel bad for, for those guys in those bad spots. So I'm glad to hear you have a good one. Coach, you wrote number 8. Yeah. We're kind of going all over the board. We're not going in order here, but.
Oh, no worries. Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I like this. We're just having a conversation. It's two dudes talk about football and the game they love.
Yeah.
So
usually
I'll talk about this for 5 hours.
Yeah, me too. Usually I told you a little earlier, off the call, I usually script out and send my interview questions for these podcasts ahead of time. But I told Coach Chaddick here, I kind of wanted this to be like, just 2 guys talking about the first year as a head coach. So that's kind of what we're doing, a little bit off the cuff. But Coach, you said number 8, you said, I'm built for this. What did you mean by that you're built for this, for being a head coach?
Well, the first thing you got to have is you have to have a tough skin. If you do not have a tough skin and you cannot, as the kids like to say, if your haters or whatever are getting on your nerves, like they like to say, keep that same energy.
Yeah.
You're going to have doubters and you're going to have people that don't believe in what you're doing, and you're going to hear, the peanut gallery out in the stands, and you're going to hear all kinds of stuff. But if you truly are built for this, you're going to have your critics, and it's going to take time. So you got to be able to understand that this comes with the territory. If you're sensitive, please do not be a head football coach. Sensitivity doesn't work. So number 1, I might be empathetic, but I am far from sensitive. I have empathy for people. I have empathy for my players. I have empathy for my friends. I have empathy for a lot, but I am not hypersensitive. I am not triggered like a lot of people get. Because, I've heard things and people will be like, oh, Coach, what do you think about that? So what? Are they here? No, I am. So move on. So you just got to have that thick skin. You got to believe in yourself. If you don't have that self-belief, you're not going to be able to make it. So you've got to be able to understand that, the criticism comes with the territory. And with that criticism, you have to be able to believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself and you believe in what you're doing, and one of the reasons I believe in what I'm doing, like I said, I wasn't one of those guys that applied for a job after 2 years. I took the long and winding road. And I think because I did, I've been part of programs that had to build, had to get better. The San G program we were part of wasn't like some crazy dynasty when we got there. We were 3-7 our first year.
Yeah.
And then we built it. And once we built it, then things start rolling. Same thing at San Bernardino Valley College. That program was not like all that and then some. Look at it now. One of the best community colleges in the Southern California region, I believe. So I got to see all this stuff and be part of the groundwork and get to see coaches work through tough times, which taught me to work through tough times. So being that I'm part of a coaching tree and part of a family, it's in my DNA. My coaches who are like my coaching forefathers, they built it in me as well. So I mean, I am my own man, but I am also a product of my influences. And, just like having a good father or just like having good role models in your life builds you into a great person, I believe that I was built to be a head coach by great head coaches. So that's what I mean by I was built for this, the combination of being poured into by great coaches who built me to be the man I am, the ability to have a tough skin and the ability to believe in what I'm doing, to know that it's the right thing, not to just say it's the right thing, not to think it's the right thing, but to know that it's the right thing. That's how I know I'm built for this.
Coach, what was the most challenging discussion you had with a parent this year?
Oh man, so many. You have, I mean, like, I'm not even gonna lie. You have why is Johnny not playing? Well, why don't you check Johnny's attendance in school? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Why don't you come to practice and watch? I mean, and there's literally times there was one time like, hey, why is he not this? Yeah. The truth of the matter is he just doesn't understand what's going on. Oh, I don't believe it. Well, why don't you come and check it out? You go, you call a play and you see that, said play is not working because said son doesn't know the job. And that really eliminates a lot of that conversation. But I would say, perhaps the toughest one, this year was, why should I stay?
Huh.
I mean, literally, like when I got in, hey, why should I stay here? And the first thing I said is, if you believe this isn't the place for you, I wish you best of luck on your endeavors, but I believe that this is the best place for you because of X, Y, Z. This is what they're doing at A, B, C, and D. I won't speak for them, but I can just speak on my own behalf. And, they ended up staying. And, I think that said person is going to be one of my future linchpins in the program that I think has college potential that I see getting out. So that's a conversation, especially in this era where, I think we're about the same age, 39. You're close to an age to me. We are the last of what I call the stovetop generation, where we're willing to wait and let things happen, and we know a home cooked meal tastes better. We are amongst the age of instant microwave gratification. So we're dealing a lot with the microwave generation.
Yep.
And instant results, instant home cooking, instant this, instant that, no patience. Like, what can you do? And if you have done it, what have you done for me lately? We live in that kind of generation. It's pretty wild, so getting the kids to believe in the process, buy in the process. And I even did that one time. Like I cooked a meal. One meal that I cooked was a microwave version of something, and then the other one was a homemade version of something, and we did like a little taste test. And I was like, which one tastes better? And I didn't let them know which is which, and then they figured it out, and they were like, this one. I was like, that's the one that was home cooked. That's the one that took the most time.
Wow.
Wow. That was kind of one of the ways that I worked with these guys to get better.
That's awesome. That's a good way to put it. I like that stovetop generation, Coach. That's a good one. Coach, you wrote another one. You wrote here, number 3. You said loyalty is huge. What did you mean by that? What kind of is that loyalty towards you or loyalty from you or both?
Okay. Loyalty is huge in so many aspects. You have to be able to trust your guys, first and foremost. I mean, from the players to the administration to from the players to the administration to the coaches that you work with. I was in a situation where, I had my defensive guys in place and I trusted them a whole lot, but I just kind of inherited certain people. And, I had a coach literally quit on me 2 games into the season. Wow. And walk away to what I thought was, hey, I'm not going to be coaching anymore. Ended up coaching at a different school. I saw him on a football field when I went to go scout, and it was pretty hilarious. But that's what I mean by loyalty. Like, a lot of times people are in it for themselves or their own personal gain and not for the big picture. And I learned a long time ago as an assistant that loyalty is everything. I think the reason a lot of coaches kept me and allowed me to advance and allowed me to put myself into the position where I became the guy is because I was just simply loyal. I'd show up to all the functions. When people wanted to talk mess about a coach, I'd be like, you know what? Like, why don't you say that in front of him instead of talking like that in front of me? All those things make a huge difference. And when a guy sees you're a loyalty guy, they give you opportunity. I have guys, perfect example of that, my strength and conditioning coach this year, who is also my freshman head coach, did a great job, went 5-5 this season. So the future is bright. I'm moving him up next year because he's done everything I've asked and then some. So Coach Rodney is going to be moving up because he simply stayed loyal. When he could have gone to other places, and he had other places that, offered him to go there, he stuck by my side. And that means a world of difference. He's getting rewarded. He's moving up on the totem pole next year. And, those kind of things don't go unnoticed. Loyalty is huge. I mean, imagine just being married to someone who is unloyal. It's the same thing. You spend more time with these guys during the football season than you do your own wife and kids. So, if I expect my, woman to be loyal, I'm going to expect my coaches to be loyal because I'm spending time and this is my family atmosphere. And if I have that toxic energy from people being disloyal, then, it's going to be a problem. Like I'm very glad that I have someone at home who's the model of consistency of how to be loyal and how to treat the kids and how to support me 100%, go to all the games, do everything. And, I expect the same out of my coaches. Like I'm not going to keep them from their families and do all kinds of crazy stuff. But when you're with me, it's time to be with me. And sorry about my crying son. We're on our way home right now. We were stopped in a parking lot for a bit, but, we're on our way home. And, speaking of family, that's my little guy. So, if I'm going to spend time away from him, I expect to have coaches that I can respect like family.
Oh, absolutely. Coach, we got two more here. You said trust the process. What do you mean by that?
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day. You know, maybe there are some, there are some coaches that got the gift of being able to go into some place and go from disaster to turning this thing around in 2 seconds. And, that's pretty cool. But in my case, I inherited a lot of obstacles, and I'm working through those obstacles. And I feel like the fact that we ended up getting to where we needed to get and be where we needed to be in this short time span was pretty awesome in this circumstance. And I see differences. Like I didn't have the full camp and the full whatever. I had to hire coaches like 3 weeks before the season. It's crazy. And if you actually look at the end of the season versus the beginning of the season and the way the scores went up and things like that, that's a product of seeing it through and being together and trusting that things are going to work out in the long term. And I truly believe we're doing the right thing. Like, for instance, we did a mandatory study hall. That was something, study hall was optional in the past. This study hall that I have every day after school, the kids cannot even go put on a piece of football equipment for practice until they turn in one homework assignment to me. So I feel like if they do at least one homework assignment, hey, they're on the road to doing 2, 3, 4, whatever homework assignments they have the next day.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So just we only lost two kids to grades, and they were freshmen. Like that just still have to learn study habits. We actually gained kids. That's crazy. We got 6 kids that were ineligible during the season to be eligible. So we actually gained kids during the season. So that's something I'm really proud of as far as trusting the process. So trusting and knowing that we're on the right path academically, that we're on the right path athletically, and just starting a leadership program and a mentorship program through my team pastor, that we're on the path spiritually for long-term success as well as professionally, long after football. Man, that's where it's at. That's where it's at for me, and I'm truly digging this process.
Coach, you wrote the last thing here we haven't talked about yet. You said, I grew a lot.
Yes, sir.
What's 2 ways maybe? Yeah. What are maybe 2 ways you saw yourself grow this year?
I grew as a leader.
Yeah.
I already had leadership skills, but to know that the tone of the players and the coaching staff, and in some cases, the school even, would take on the attitude that you took on towards your players. When you have teachers walk up to you that I've never even met and say, man, this kid is night and day difference, and it's because of the leadership and the culture change that you brought in, that means the world to me. So the fact that I was able to develop even stronger leadership skills and grow as a leader was huge. And I know I'm going to continue to grow, but my leadership grew. The second thing was, as strong as a communicator as I am, my ability to learn how to communicate certain things, my ability to learn how to communicate with body language, with nonverbal cues, with positive energy, with the desire to push things through. Like, I never missed a practice once. There was a time for 3 weeks in the middle of the season where I caught bronchitis and I didn't miss one practice.
Wow.
Just showing the kids that, hey, working through adversity.
Yeah.
Being the example. So those are pretty much the ways in which I feel like I grew the most. My communication style and my ability to communicate and my ability to grow as a leader. Those are the things that I feel like helps me become better, that help me become better in the present and better in the future. My communication style grew, and my leadership grew.
Coach, man, I really appreciate your time. This was an awesome list you put together, and I thank you very much for sharing this with so many coaches. Again, to wrap it up, what I learned my first year as a head coach from Chris Chaddick. I love football. I grew a lot. I'm built for this. If your AD sucks, quit. Mine's dope, he said. Trust the process. There's a lot of red tape. You can't do it all yourself. Loyalty is huge. Expect the unexpected, and I love it. Coach, I loved your post.
I do love it.
Yeah, I loved your post, and I love your willingness to share with coaches tonight. Tell us, where can we find you on Twitter for those coaches who might want to follow you and follow up with you?
At Coach Chaddick. At Coach Chaddick. So my last name is Chaddick. So at Coach Chaddick on Twitter. At ISHS Football on Instagram, and also at Chris Chaddick on Instagram if you want to find see some of my adventures with my family and such. And hey, baby, speaking of which, we just got home, so I just opened the door, and my baby is very happy about that. Just all those various sites, and I'm always down to talk and to learn and to expand my horizons. So if any coaches want to help me get better, I'm humble enough to know that I don't know it all, that I've got to learn. And, if you just want to chat and tell me what you've learned on your journey, as you have, Coach, I'm more than willing to take it in and receive it, because I want to get better.
Awesome, Coach. Hey, we wish you luck this coming year. And again, Coach, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's it. That wraps up episode 49 of the Coach's Locker podcast with Chris Four. Certainly hope you appreciate our time here tonight with Coach Chris Chaddick of Indian Springs High School right here in Southern California. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week on episode 50.